For 9 years, the Shaw family was hidden behind their own walls. A tap in the silence, a song carried through concrete, was all it took for someone to listen. Regina.
In 1985, the Shaw family vanished from their own home, their car still in the driveway. The police called it an abandonment. For 9 years, the house held a secret so terrible, no one ever thought to look behind the walls. Then, a new owner heard a sound that should have been impossible. Before I begin, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it there? It really means a lot to know you're here with us. We're in this together. Now, let me tell you what really happened. The argument had been simmering for weeks, a low, toxic heat beneath the surface of the otherwise happy Shaw household. It came to a head on a bright Saturday afternoon in the spring of 1985. The subject, as it always was Denise Shaw's older brother, Franklin Foster. He stood in their living room, a tall, imposing man whose presence seemed to suck the very light from the room. His concern for his sister and her family had long ago curdled into a suffocating, obsessive control. "The world is a dangerous place, Denise," Franklin said, his voice a low, insistent rumble. "Especially for our people. You're too trusting. Curtis is too soft. The children, they need to be protected. Truly protected." Curtis Shaw, a high school music teacher whose gentle demeanor was often mistaken for weakness, stood his ground. At 36, he was a man who believed in the good of his community, in the power of music and faith. "My family is safe here, Franklin," he said, his voice firm. "We don't need you telling us how to live our lives. We need you to give us space." Denise, caught between the two men, wrung her hands. She loved her brother, but his paranoia, his dark view of the world, had become a suffocating presence. Their children, 12-year-old Jerome and 8-year-old Vanessa, had grown quiet, retreating to their rooms whenever their uncle visited. The argument escalated. Franklin's vision of protection was becoming more extreme, his pronouncements more chilling. He spoke of building a sanctuary, a place where no harm could ever reach them, a place where he could watch over them. The argument ended when Curtis, his patience finally snapping, ordered Franklin out of his house and told him not to return until he could respect their boundaries. Franklin had left, but not before giving Denise a look of profound, sorrowful disappointment, as if she were a fool choosing to walk willingly into a fire. "You'll see," he'd whispered. "You'll all see. One day you'll thank me." That was the last time anyone outside the immediate family saw them. The following week, the silence from the Shaw house began. Mail, usually collected daily by Denise, started to pile up in their mailbox. Newspapers, delivered with a familiar thud each morning, lay untouched on the front porch. Curtis missed a scheduled practice for the high school jazz band without calling. Denise missed her volunteer shift at the local library. Jerome and Vanessa did not show up for school on Monday morning. It was a concerned neighbor who finally called the police. She had knocked on the door several times, peered through the windows, and seen nothing but a house that seemed frozen in time. The family's car, a respectable sedan, was still parked in the driveway. When the police arrived, they found the house locked, with no signs of forced entry. After gaining access, they found a scene of eerie, ordinary stillness. A half-finished game of checkers sat on the living room floor. Dishes were in the drying rack by the kitchen sink. The beds were made. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no note, no indication of a hurried departure. It was as if the Shaw family of four had simply evaporated into thin air. The investigation began, and its first point of contact was the only close relative in town, Franklin Foster. He arrived at the scene projecting an air of grave, brotherly concern. He spoke to the lead detective, a jaded white officer named Wallace Grimes, painting a subtle, poisonous picture. He spoke of Curtis and Denise having terrible marital problems, of Curtis having a wandering eye, of Denise being unhappy and unstable. He hinted that they'd often talked about packing up and starting a new life somewhere else, maybe on the West Coast, to escape their troubles. For Detective Grimes, a man already inclined to view cases from the city's black neighborhoods through a lens of cynical stereotypes, Franklin's story was a convenient gift. It fit a neat, simple narrative that required minimal effort. "It happens all the time," Grimes later told a junior officer. "They fight, they get tired of the bills, they just pack a bag and leave the mess behind." Family tells us a different story, but it's always the same. The official search was therefore superficial. They put out a standard missing persons bulletin, but the case lacked urgency. With a cooperative family member suggesting they left voluntarily, and with no evidence of foul play, the police quickly downgraded the investigation. The strange disappearance of the Shaw family became a story of abandonment, of irresponsibility. The systemic indifference was palpable. A black family's disappearance was treated not as a crime to be solved, but as a domestic issue to be filed away.